Welcome to Business Technology Made Simple, where we discuss current business technology trends, interview business professionals, and discuss ways that you can improve your business. Whether you work for a large enterprise or just starting your own business, I hope to provide you with valuable information that will help you grow as a business leader. Hello, welcome to Business Technology Made Simple. I'm your host, Seth Neds, and today we're going to talk about why you need cybersecurity, what it is, and what to look for in a software solution. I saw some comments on my first episode, and I really appreciate those of you who commented. So this one is in direct response to those to try to cover some cybersecurity information. There's a comment about someone starting an accounting business and working with sensitive data. So we'll talk some about that. And then someone else was asking about just more details about the cybersecurity software I mentioned. So we'll get into that in this video as well. I wanted to also point out a video I found on YouTube. It's a 7-minute cybersecurity video, and I'll link that in the description. But I thought it was really helpful, has visuals, and it's just like cybersecurity for beginners. I want to start out this episode, before we get into what cybersecurity is, I want to talk a little bit about why we even need cybersecurity. And I wanted to share some facts about cybercrime. The FCC, which is the Federal Communications Commission, they said that the theft of digital information has become the most commonly reported fraud, surpassing even physical theft. And then another stat that I found is in 2020, $1 trillion was lost globally to cybercrime, according to this study done by McAfee Security Software. In 2021, they mentioned that the number is expected to rise to over $6 trillion. So it's going 6 times higher than it was in 2020. And I know we're at the end of, or beginning of 2022 right now, so I haven't found that number yet, what it was for 2021. Another stat I saw is that 60% of small to medium businesses fail within 6 months of a cyber attack. So that's over 50%. That's pretty scary. And then another quote that I thought was useful, FBI Director Robert Mueller and other people have kind of conned this quote as well. He said, "I am convinced that there are only 2 types of companies, those that have been hacked and those that will be hacked." So if you haven't been hacked yet, you probably will be, and you need to have defenses in place against those hacks. So that's why we need cybersecurity. And then I want to talk a little bit about what it is, kind of just a simple overview of that. Cybersecurity, at least in my mind, I compare it to physical security because that's something I know and I'm used to. You have things like gates and locks and safes and cameras, things that you would use to protect your house or your work. And so I'm going to try to use that analogy to explain a few concepts of cybersecurity. So, for example, when you think of perimeter security at, let's say, some businesses, they have like a fence or a wall around them. And there's a concept in cybersecurity called a firewall. And it's really just a barrier between the public and the private internet. But in real life, you have your private space and then your private company space and then the public outside the walls there. So it's used, as a way to segregate those two and secure from the outside. And then you have doors, obviously, in that fence or the gate, or fence or wall, called a gate. And so that gate would help you filter who comes in, who goes out, those types of things. And if you're thinking of it in terms of the physical world, you wouldn't want someone to just be able to walk into your private office like anybody in the world. Obviously, that's not what you want, but that's essentially what some businesses allow in the digital world. They don't have any kind of firewall or security, and you obviously don't want that, and you would want cybersecurity software to help you with those, to create a perimeter, to create a wall. So another aspect of security in the physical world is security cameras, right? We probably have them at work and at home, and these are ways that we monitor for suspicious activity. You might get notified on your phone that someone's there, that someone left a package, all those different things. So there are ways that you can just kind of monitor what's going on. And in the digital world, there's similar monitors, many different ways to monitor for suspicious activity. It just really adds another layer of security so that if someone gets past that firewall that we just mentioned into the private network or the private internet of your company, that they're able to monitor those types of users and just track and report on them as soon as possible. Another aspect of cybersecurity that can be helpful is file download scanners. If you're downloading files from emails or a website, so you want to be able to scan those to make sure there's not like malicious files and things. And you can kind of draw a parallel to like when you go to the airport, they scan you and scan your luggage and make sure you don't have any, guns and knives and those types of things. Another area of cybersecurity that's helpful to have is website filtering and blocking. Now, in real life, you may not block who leaves your business or who leaves that gate, but in the digital world, you actually want to be careful where the people in your private internet go out to the public. So you don't want someone going to a public website that has malicious content and then bringing the content back into the private behind that firewall. So you want to have filters on your internet and things to block your users from going to malicious websites. And then keys to the building, if you think of that in the physical world, passwords are kind of like that in the digital world. And it's good to have password management softwares that allow you to, generate secure passwords and allow you to store them, manage those, so you don't have users that are actually using the same password for all of their different logins, which is extremely insecure. And then there's a concept called multi-factor authentication. You may have that at your job. It's called MFA for short, and it allows you to not only have just a password that you type in, but also, maybe it's a code that gets text to your phone, or maybe a fingerprint or something else, but it's multiple different factors that increase the level of security. So if someone knows your password, they would also have to have your phone or something else at the same time. So it just is another layer that's helpful. And then another aspect, sorry, I know these are kind of a bunch in a row here, but another aspect is data protection. If someone were to steal your computer, let's say, and take it apart, take out the hard drive and plug that drive into something else, they would be able to take off all the files. So you really need something in place for data protection, keep people from stealing your data. I want to address the comment from the previous video talking about like handling sensitive client data. You want to ensure wherever you store your data that you have end-to-end protection. So if your client's opening the file, you want to make sure that it's protected from their end, but also from your end, and any sharing that you do with them. And tools like Google Drive, Microsoft OneDrive, Dropbox, all those ones I mentioned in the first video, in the first episode, those all have the ability to have end-to-end encryption. So you'll definitely want to make sure you have that turned on as a start. And then when you think of sharing things with your clients, you don't want to send sensitive items over email, because email doesn't have that end-to-end encryption. So for example, you don't want to send pay slips, contracts, accounting reports, those types of things over email. The one way, since you can't send it through email, you have to find another way to share it with clients if they need to see something. And you can do that through some of the cloud storage tools, but you can also do it, I'll put a link in the description, but there's accounting specific tools for sharing sensitive data. I found an article that might be helpful in the description on that. So a third aspect of data protection is the safety of the files. So just once you get files from your clients, you want to make sure they're safe and they're not going to, get deleted on accident. And one way to help with that is to have version control, which the majority of the cloud storage softwares and systems, they have version control built in, so you can see, okay, who checked this file out and who deleted it. They have, things in place like recycling bins where you can restore and all of that. But then in addition to that, if there was, if you had this stored on a local hard drive and that hard drive dies, you need to have a way to back that up so you don't lose everything. And so that's where, cloud storage also comes in handy, because you can set up in ways to back up your files. By default, they're already backed up, but you can, depending on the importance of the data, you can even increase the level of backups across the United States or the world, and ensure that if a natural disaster occurs, you don't lose everything because you've got it in a data center across the US or across the world. So that's another aspect to security of data, to your client's data. All those different aspects really just touch the surface of cybersecurity and what there is to know about it. But I hope that gave you a little bit better understanding of the concepts. One technique you can use when you're looking at software and trying to compare different options is called a vendor scorecard. And just a basic way to do this is to look at all the features that you want in a system or in the software. So maybe you want to have a firewall. You want the system to scan files, like download files. You want the system to block some websites so your employees don't go to certain websites. So you make a list of the different features you want it to have, and then you can score the vendors against those features. So you can say, okay, vendor A, they do great on this feature, we'll give them a 4. They do horrible on this feature, we'll give them a 1 or a 0. And you can kind of score each of them like that. And then you can also put an importance on the features if you want. So you could say, this feature is very important to me. This feature not so important, but it'd be nice to have. And you can put different numbers on that. You multiply the importance times the vendor's ability to perform on that feature. Then you get yourself a score, and you can sum those scores, and that'll give you a total vendor score. And then you can kind of compare the vendors. So one vendor might have a score of 100, another vendor 300, and so it makes it easy to kind of pick the top vendor in that way. So I hope this has piqued your interest in cybersecurity. I know there's a lot more that we could cover, but I wanted to just give you an overview since you guys commented on that. I'd like to also in the future potentially interview some cybersecurity experts. I work some with cybersecurity, but it's not really my area of expertise. And so I'd love to bring in an expert that could talk a little deeper and maybe answer some questions about this that you have. So maybe in the future we'll get to that. We'll see. But also, so it's because of the comments last time, I picked cybersecurity as the first of the 8 technologies. In my first episode, I talked about the 8 must-have technologies for you to start a business. And I'd love to hear from you guys which of those you'd like me to dive deeper in. I plan to cover all of those, but let me know which one you want first and any specific aspects of that. So if you need to look at those, which ones we covered, you can go back to my first episode and watch that real quick. And feel free to leave me a comment, send me an email or text, and share which one you want. So if you made it all the way to the end of this episode, thank you very much. If you found it helpful, please like, subscribe, share, and leave comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day.